In today's editorial page, we're getting everyone's opinions on which Phil Jackson misstep looks worse now. Losing out on Steve Kerr to be the Knicks head coach as he went to the Warriors and is in the NBA Finals, or dumping J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert to the Cavs for nothing, and they're now in the NBA Finals, which, of course, start tonight. What do you think, Sal? Which looks worse?
I think the Steve Kerr non-hire looks worse. For me, I don't have an issue with the J.R. Smith trade, Iman Shumpert trade, because I wanted J.R. Smith out of here. I thought he was a bad player, bad contract. They had to give up Shumpert to get rid of him. Fine, good riddance. Steve Kerr, at the time, he was their first hire. You wanted to hire him. He was their first choice. So the fact that Phil couldn't land his guy, Steve Kerr, who was his first choice, I think that was the biggest.
But remember what happened in that situation with Steve Kerr. And I don't know, and I don't think it was Phil Jackson's fault. Remember this. Marv Albert had some things to say to Steve Kerr about how this place operates, meaning the Garden, the Gulag. And Steve Kerr went public that he had talked to Marv Albert. Then you saw Jim Dolan get involved, and all of a sudden they couldn't pay Kerr what he wanted. So I think this was another decision that came from the top down. Now, my feeling on Phil Jackson is his big mistake was taking the job.
That's a good
right,
point.
Or maybe signing Carmelo to that big deal. I mean,
sure.
You know,
yeah.
You could throw that in there, too. Yeah, I don't see how not signing Kerr, I think that was out of his hands. Like, I think Kerr really wanted to go to the team that had a lot more talent, a lot closer to his home. I know that they were very close at one point to getting it done and all that sort of thing, but I don't think that that was really, like, I think he put his best foot forward, Phil,
well,
and that was it. I mean, he just didn't get it.
Yeah, but
it was not gettable.
Yeah, but I disagree with you and Bob in this sense. This was Phil Jackson's first chance where he could have used some collateral with James Dolan and said, we need to get this guy. This is the price it costs. He ended up spending more on Derek Fisher, who's turned out to be worse. He also, if you remember, let Kerr think about it for a long time, where Kerr wasn't sure he was getting the job. He could have put Kerr's feet to the fire and say, you want this job, you have to take it now or risk not getting a head coach.
Well, you know, I don't totally disagree with what you're saying, but the point I'm trying to make is it might have also been the first time Phil Jackson was made aware of how this thing works, that he isn't calling the shot. And the first time he ran up against that, he folded.
You know,
because there were a lot of other things that he said he was going to do to change the organization.
Right, the medical staff.
And he didn't do it.
Right. Yeah, and by the way, let's just be clear here. Steve Kerr, Red Holtzman, Phil Jackson himself, nobody could have won with this Knicks team, this garbage team that we saw out there. So to say that Steve Kerr is all of a sudden this great coach and he's much better than Fisher, yeah, it played out that way this year, but I mean, come on, that's only because the disparity in the two teams is ridiculous.
Well, but Anthony, let's bring up, something else here, and our buddy Frank Isola has pointed this out many times on this show. He did give away J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert for nothing. I mean, Timothy Mozgov got a first-round pick. Nothing for these two guys, and they helped cement a Cavs roster, which is now in the finals.
Well, you don't like 3 expiring contracts and a second-round pick. I think that was it. I mean, they got a big second-round pick out of it. I mean,
huge, right?
Something to hold on to.
No,
I agree. That's what I think is the bigger misstep here, because I think the other one was out of his control. But I mean, now it makes him really look bad that these guys are thriving and they're in the finals and they're chatting a little bit, about getting out of the Knicks.
But the scary thing for anyone that follows the Knicks is the fact that it was really an irrational decision. Because when he went out initially and said, we're going to make the playoffs with these guys, which include Shumpert and J.R. Smith and these other guys, and things went south quickly, what did he do? He made an irrational but splashy move. He pulled the plug on the team.
Yeah, but I like that because the team was in the tank. They were going nowhere. J.R. Smith.
But he was the one who said, but Sal, he came out and said that this team was going to win.
And then he realized that he was wrong. J.R. Smith was toxic. And to say that J.R. Smith all of a sudden thriving in Cleveland, J.R. Smith himself said that he had to tone down the partying here in New York. What does that tell you about where his mentality is and how you have a young head coach in Derek Fisher who's trying to build a basketball team and get these guys to buy in and play the right way? You have a clown like J.R. Smith on the team.
Well,
good riddance. Shumpert has to go too. So be it. I want this guy.
Well, people were singing the praises of Shumpert and his defensive capabilities,
and he never lived up to that.
But the fact of the matter is that J.R. Smith said a lot of that stuff when he got to Cleveland because he wanted to impress the king.
Listen, no question. I just think Phil Jackson failed, and as a young GM, he's not a young man, but he's a young GM, failed to recognize the marketplace and maybe what it could return for those two guys.